That shaman in California didn't just glimpse something vague in the smoke or catch a fleeting impression of your energy during that spirit session last night. He saw straight into the core of what you actually are. And the moment he did, his entire demeanor shifted from casual curiosity to something that looked a whole lot like recognition mixed with a quiet, unshakable reverence. It wasn't the kind of reaction you get from someone who's easily impressed or who hands out dramatic pronouncements to every person who walks through their door. This was the look of a man who has spent decades peeling back the layers of human consciousness, sitting with people from every walk of life, watching them unravel their own stories in front of them. And then suddenly encountering something that he hadn't prepared himself for, something that made him stop mid-sentence, set down his tools, and just stare for a long moment before he could even form the words to tell you what he saw. He didn't just see your surface story. He didn't caught up in the job you hold, the relationship you've navigated, the mistakes you've made, or the achievements you've stacked up along the way. He bypassed all that immediately, like it was irrelevant noise he didn't have time for. What he saw instead was the architecture of your soul, the blueprint you came in with, the specific frequency you've been broadcasting since the moment you took your first breath. All the thing that really got this attention, the detail that made him lean forward and lower his voice, was the realization that you have been carrying something most people never even brush up against in their entire lives. He saw that you have been walking through this world with the kind of visibility that you have never fully understood. A presence that registers on levels most people don't even know exist. You know how some people can walk into a room and the energy just shifts, not because they are loud or demanding attention, but because something about their very existence seems to rearrange the air around them. That's what they saw in you. He described it as a kind of light that isn't generated by effort or charisma or any of the usual things people rely on to get noticed. It's just there, radiating from you, whether you are aware of it or not. And he told me that this light you carry isn't something you developed over time. It's not a skill you learned or vibe you cultivated through practice. It's the original signature of who you are. The part of you that existed before you ever had a name or a history or a single memory. That's what caught him off guard. He has sat across from plenty of people who have done impressive things, survived incredible hardships, or built lives that look inevitable from the outside. But he said there is a difference between someone who has worked hard to become something and someone who simply is something at their deepest level. And you, he said, you are the second kind. He could feel it the moment you entered the space where the session took place. He told me later that he had a sense of you before you even sat down, a kind of pressure in the room that made him pay attention in a way he actually doesn't. It wasn't threatening or heavy in a bad way. It was just distinct, like the way you can tell, like the way you can tell when a storm is coming even before you see the clouds. Something in the atmosphere shifts, and your body picks up on it even when your mind hasn't caught up yet. Body knows first. That's what you do to people, whether you realize it or not. You create a kind of quiet disturbance in the fabric of things, a subtle rearrangement that leaves some people feeling oddly comforted and others completely unsettled. And the difference between those two reactions, the comfort and the discomfort, comes down to one thing, whether or not the person you are dealing with is hiding something. Because here is what the shaman saw clearly in that session. He saw that you have an almost unsettling ability to see through people's fronts. Not because you're suspicious or cynical, but because you just naturally pick up on the gap between what someone is presenting and what they are actually carrying underneath. Let me stop here. You feel it in your chest when someone is lying to you, even if it's a small lie. Even if they are lying to themselves more than they are lying to you. You register inconsistencies in their energy the way other people register changes in temperature. And the ones who have something to hide, the ones who are running from their own truth or trying to manipulate the people around them, they can feel that you see them. They cannot explain it. They don't know how you do it. But they know that when you are in their presence, their usual tricks don't work the same way. The masks they wear, the ones that fool everyone else, they suddenly feel flimsy and transparent. The shaman said that during the session, he saw images, not exactly pictures, but impressions of what you have been through. He saw the layers of struggle that most people would have collapsed under. Times when the weight of everything passing down on you should have been enough to break anyone. He saw you navigating situations where you were outnumbered, outmatched, and completely alone. And yet, somehow you kept moving forward. He said it wasn't stubbornness or pride that kept you going. It was something more fundamental, something that operates below the level of conscious choice. He described it as an internal compass that doesn't malfunction to no matter how dark things get. It just keeps pointing you in the direction where you have supposed to go, even when you cannot see the path ahead. And here is the part that really struck me. He said that in all of this, in all his years doing his work, he's only encountered a handful of people who carry what you carry. And it's not a common thing. It's not something that develops from reading the right books or attending the right workshops or repeating affirmations until you feel better about yourself. It's something you were given before you arrived here. And that's important. It's like a seed that was planted deep inside you, and everything you have experienced, you have been through, the good and the terrible and everything in between, has been watering that seed and helping it grow. He said that the attacks on your life, the people who have tried to tear you down, the betrayals, the losses, the moments when you thought you couldn't take another step, all of that was actually part of the nurturing process. Not because suffering is good in itself, but because suffering has a way of stripping away everything that isn't essential. It burns off the parts of you that were never really you to begin with, and what remains is something much more pure, much more powerful, and much harder to shake. He saw that you have been targeted before, not in a paranoid, everyone is out to get me kind of way, but in a way, real pattern that has played out repeatedly in your life. There have been people who sensed your presence and immediately felt threatened by it, not because you did anything to threaten them, but because your existence alone held up a mirror to their own choices. And they didn't like what they saw reflected back. So they tried to discredit you, they tried to isolate you, they tried to make you feel like you were the problem, like you were too intense, too much for anyone to handle. They tried to convince you that you needed to shrink, to dim your light, your beautiful light, to become smaller and quieter and easier to ignore. And for a while you bought into it. You believed that if you could just be more agreeable, more accommodating, more ordinary, things would get easier. But it never worked, did it? No matter how small you tried to make yourself, your presence still registered. You still couldn't shake the feeling that you were meant for something more than just fitting in. It never worked, actually. The shaman said, that's because you cannot negotiate away what you are. You cannot compromise with your own nature. You can spend years trying to pretend you are not who you really are, but at the end of the day, your soul is going to push through every single denial you throw at it. That's what you saw happening in your life. He saw that everything you've been through has been slowly bringing you closer to accepting what you have always known deep down, but have been afraid to fully acknowledge. You have been carrying, he said that you have been carrying a calling that you didn't ask for and didn't understand. And it has been pulling you forward even when you were actively trying to resist it. And he said something else that I think need to hear. He said that the people who have been trying to block you, the ones who have been working against you from the shadows or not, they don't realize that they are dealing with. They think you are just another person they can outmaneuver or intimidate or wear down over time. They are operating under the assumption that you have limits like everyone else, that eventually you will get tired or discouraged or scared enough to give up. But the shaman saw that you are running on a different kind of fuel. You are not sustained by willpower or ambition or any of the usual things people rely on to push through challenges. You are sustained by something that predates this whole system, something that doesn't depend on external validation or approval or even basic survival instincts. He said that you are being carried by a force that has been in motion since before you showed up. And it's not about to let you drop now. He said the session last night was different from any session he has done in recent memory. Usually when he sits with someone, he can see the threads on their life, the patterns, the connection, the choices they have made, and the ones they are about to make. He can offer guidance that helps them untangle the knots they have accumulated. But with you, it wasn't like that. He said it felt more like he was witnessing something rather than analyzing something. So witnessing, yeah. Like he was in the presence of the completed piece of work that was simply awaiting its final unveiling. The knot, he has already been untangled, he said. The path has already been cleared. And you have already done the work, whether you realize it or not. Now it's just a matter of stepping into what's already being prepared for you. He saw the faces of people who have tried to derail you. He saw their motivations and the lies they've told themselves to justify their actions. And he said that without exception. Every single one of them has already begun to experience the consequences of their choices. Not because you have done anything to them, or because some cosmic punishment system is descending on their heads, but because there is a natural reckoning that happens when you go against something true. It's like swim upstream. You can do it for a while. You can even be proud of your strength and your determination. But eventually the current is going to exhaust you. And that's what you saw happening to the people who have tried to stop you. They are tearing themselves out fighting something they don't even understand. They are exhausting their resources, their influence, their credibility, all in pursuit of a goal that was never achievable in the first place. He said the thing they don't understand is that you are not actually the source of their frustration. You are just a symptom of a larger shift that's already underway. The changes that you represent, the truth you embody, the new frequency you are broadcasting, those things were going to happen regardless of whether you existed or not. You just happen to be one of the people who is carrying that shift, giving it a face and a voice and a human presence that others can perceive. And that makes you a natural target for anyone who is invested in things staying exactly as they are. But the shaman also said that you are more than equal to the task. He said you have been prepared for this your entire life, your whole life, even the parts of your life that felt like detours or failures or pointless detours. Everything has been training, he said. Every hardship was teaching you something you would eventually need. Every person who disappointed you, was showing you what not to become. Every loss was clearing space for something better to grow. None of it was random. None of it was wasted. And he could see that as clearly as he could see your face. He sent you a message. And I'm going to give it to you exactly as he gave it to me, because I think it matters that you hear it in his words and not filtered through my interpretation. He said that the part of you that feels like an outsider, the part that has never quite fit in, the part that has always sensed there was something different about you but couldn't quite name it. That part is not a mistake. That is the part of you that already knows what your purpose is, even if your conscious mind hasn't fully caught up yet. That feeling of not belonging has been pointing you toward your real home this whole time. The discomfort you've carried, the sense that you were meant for something else, that wasn't a defect, that was a compass, your compass. And he also said that the protective energy around you is real and it's active right now. He could see it through during the session. A kind of field around you that pushes back everything that's not aligned with your highest good. He said, it's not something you have to generate or maintain. It's automatically generated by your commitment to your truth, your refusal to compromise who you are for the sake of comfort or approval. Every time you choose authenticity over accommodation, that field gets stronger. Every time you speak your truth instead of bearing it, that field expands. And it's reached a point now where it's practically impenetrable. The things that used to get through to you, the doubts, the fears, the manipulations, they just bounce off now. You've probably noticed that. You've probably noticed that you cannot be as shaken as you used to be. That the same old tactics that used to make you spiral no longer have the same effect. That's not because you have become numb or disconnected. It's because you have outgrown the level where those attacks could reach you. He said that you are operating from a different altitude now. And the weapons that work on people down at ground level just don't have the range to hit you anymore. He said your dreams have been giving your information too. If you have been paying attention, the ones that feel too vivid to be ordinary, the ones that leave you with a feeling you cannot shake when you wake up. Those are moments when your awareness expands beyond the boundaries of ordinary waking consciousness. And you get access to something more real than your daytime reality. He said to pay attention to those because they are not random. No, they are messages from the part of you that already knows where this is all going. And he said that you are approaching a moment of visibility, real visibility that you haven't experienced before. A time when what you have been carrying inside you will become impossible to ignore from the outside. Not because you will become more aggressive or more self-promoting, but because the timing is right. The external conditions have shifted to match your internal state. And now things are going to start aligning in ways that surprise you. People are going to notice you in a new way. Opportunities are going to appear that didn't exist before. And there is going to be a kind of acceleration, like a ride that's been moving slowly and suddenly hits a downward slope. He emphasized that you don't have the force to force any of this. The most important thing you can do right now is stay steady. Stay grounded, stay connected to the part of you that already knows what's true, even when the world around you is trying to convince you otherwise. The people who are threatened by your presence, the ones who have been trying to undermine you, they are going to ramp up their efforts as you get closer to your full expression. That's just what happens when light enters a room that's been dark for a long time. The darkness doesn't just politely step aside. It fights. Yeah, it fights hard. It fights to hold on. But it cannot hold on forever. And that's what the shaman saw last night. He saw the inevitability of your emergence. He saw that the fight is already won, even if it doesn't feel like that way yet. He saw that everything is moving exactly as it should, and that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. When he sent the message, he said to tell you that you have already survived what you needed to survive. You have already been through the refining fire, and you came out the other side not just intact, but transformed. The people who entered those challenges is not the same person who emerged from them. And that's exactly the point. You were never meant to stay who you were. You were meant to be remade. And you were the version of you that struggled and doubted and felt lost. That version served its purpose, and now it's time to let it go. You don't need to keep revisiting old wounds or rehearsing old fears. the chapter is closed, and you are being invited to step fully into the new one, the next one. He said the future you are moving into is going to look different from anything you've experienced before. Not because your circumstances are going to change overnight. Although some of them might. But because, let me recall, but because the way you experience your circumstances is going to transform. You are going to perceive things differently. You are going to have a clarity that wasn't available to you before. You are going to make decisions from a place of knowing rather than hoping. Knowing rather than hoping. And the people around you are going to sense that shift. They are going to feel your presence more strongly, and they are going to be affected by it whether they want it to be or not. So if you have been holding back, if you have been waiting for permission or clarity or proof that you are ready, the shaman's message is that the permission is already here. The certainty is already here. The proof is in everything you've already lived through, everything you have already overcome, everything you have already become. You don't need to know exactly how the rest of the story unfolds before you take the next step. You just need to take the next step and the one after that, and the one after that. The shaman in California saw your soul last night. He saw that you are not a mistake. He saw that you are not here by accident. He saw that you are carrying something rare and necessary and profoundly important.